brother, the Heat Party.
My vision getting clearer. I'm looking in the mirror. I'm saying to myself, that's a fly. Yeah, Harlem is the city.
You don't have to do this, you get to do this. And I heard it that one time and I thought, yeah, it changed everything about the way I think. I don't have to box, I get to. I didn't like how my last fight went. I didn't like the heavy that I brought into that fight. I didn't like the mentality that I was in. I just thought, you know what, you gotta fix this so that you can move on. I want to go out the way I came in, like on fire. I want to go out the way I came in, like with passion, with a drive, with a sense of purpose. I want to do this. I really want to do this.
Thought I left, but I write on them like tattoos. Mirror on the wall, who's the flyest involved? Maybe the monologue, a fancy designer club. Buying out the bar for baby behind the bar. So you can tell them.
In the booth, Fight Corner, we're back. And this time we have boxing royalty joining us. Booked for a fight on March 12th against Terry Harper, who just lost her belts, but former champion as well. And this person is someone who I've been looking forward to having on the show. Like, we've been having, when the show started, like, we had all these different types of guests on, but when we started transitioning a lot into combat sports, I have this, like, mental list of people to interview, and, like, you were one of them. This is Heather the Heat Hardy, the legend. And, you've been around. You've been around for a long time. You've done MMA, so there's a lot to pick your brain on. How are you? How are you doing?
I'm doing well, thank you. And yourself?
I'm doing great. Fantastic. Yeah.
Thank you for having me.
Yes, you're welcome, and thank you for coming on. Like, I really, really appreciate it. So you're based in New York now. Things have opened up, right, a little bit. Like, I was just telling you off the record that, like, because of the pandemic, I'm here now. I'm abroad. This is the studio of one of the artists we manage. We're not usually in this space, and like, it's just changed us. Like, it's changed us professionally. So it's definitely changed the boxing industry as well. So can you tell us a little bit about, like, how this phase has been for you and how it is now that things have opened up again?
Oh, sure. I mean, in New York, we've been strict lockdown, back to open, strict lockdown, back to open. And I think most New Yorkers like myself are kind of just going along with whatever's happening, trying to roll with the punches, and fingers crossed that gyms stay open. Like, I don't care. Close the restaurants, close the takeout, close the outside drinking, but please leave my business alone.
Yeah, it's crazy because it's like, in the end, for me, it comes down to, in the end, human health is number one, is the number one way to probably combat the pandemic. Like, the people that are on ICUs a lot of the time are people that are less healthy, and then you're taking away sports from us as well, which is like, it's definitely going to lower the immunity. People are outside less, it's crazy. Anyway, like, but Amsterdam has been kind of this. So usually we're based in Amsterdam, and Amsterdam is kind of the same as New York. And I mean, New York was designed by a guy from Amsterdam. It used to be called New Amsterdam. I feel like I'm a bit of a New Yorker at heart, in a way. I even came in like I'm wearing my gray sweatpants and the Timbs today.
There you go.
I'm channeling it, yeah. So yeah, what are your, like, favorite things about New York before we really get into the meat of things?
Well, I was born and raised in New York, and for me, it's home, right? Like, everything is home. The food tastes better here. The air smells better here. The water tastes better here. Like, everything is just better in New York. So if you ask people from out of New York, what are the best things, they might say things like, oh, Central Park, Statue of Liberty, Empire State Building, the beautiful skyline. But I don't think I've ever been to any of those places. For me, New York is just, everything is better here because it's home.
That's like the local experience. I mean, I've the same, like, wherever I'm at, and people are always saying, like, oh, the city you're in, it's so beautiful, like, you have so many great sites, and what do you think about this site, about this time? Like, I'm embarrassed to say, like, I've never been, Yeah. I've only recently, like, done those touristy Amsterdam things, and that's only because, like, people are visiting me. So anyway, so you're a former world champion in boxing. You're a former WBO, WBC featherweight champion. You have several championships in Muay Thai and kickboxing, right? So, like, and then you went into MMA. So, now, they booked you. So Terry Harper fought Alicia Baumgardner. A performance that I loved, by the way, by Alicia. And now they want to get Terry Harper back on track, and they call you for a fight. So, how did this thing materialize?
Well, my promoter, I actually got called for a bare knuckle boxing fight in December.
Wow.
And I called my promoter and I said, listen, Lou, these guys is offering me a little money, but not enough money to do that. And, I have college tuition next year. My daughter's going to college. I said, and the more I think about it, the more I realize I'm not done fighting yet. So maybe you could find me something in boxing so that I don't have to take this garbage money to go into that vicious, brutal, bare knuckle boxing.
Mm.
And I had put myself in the gym back in December, not militantly, but just on a casual thing to try to see if I could get back into it. If I thought at 40 years old that I could do this again, and I realized I can. So so Lou, it just had been the right timing for everything because they were looking for an opponent for Terry, and my name came up, and Lou said, "What do you think?" And I thought, you know what, this is a real good way for me to prove to myself that I can still do this. So.
Absolutely. And is Lou DiBella like that's Lou DiBella we're talking about? Is he let's see, he seems like an advocate of women's boxing. Like he really does nurture it and put more attention into it, right? Than the rest.
He was always one of the few promoters in the early days who was signing women and putting women on his local shows. He did things here in New York City called Broadway Boxing, and he had like a local show. It ran on a local sports network, and was giving women the opportunity to shine. And it was at a time when television networks like Showtime, ESPN, HBO were vocally against women's boxing and refused to televise it. And Lou kind of said, hey, I know you girls aren't a long-term investment because there's no money being televised, but you can perform here for me if you can be a short-term investment. In other words, if you sell tickets, you can get on the shows. So a lot of us local New York girls came up through Lou DiBella's system.
Awesome. Yeah. And then you had to sell your own tickets and promote, and that sort of you put your own business mind to work. You've said that before.
Yeah.
Yeah. But then
you had to get creative. We had to get creative.
Yeah. But you didn't get a cut of those tickets, did you?
Yeah, I sure did. I've always gotten a cut as I got more experience and out of boxing at small venues like a BB King's or Roseanne Ballroom, and I was into Barclays Center in Madison Square Garden. Ticket commissions went up, and it became incentive for me to just want to fight at home because I knew I was filling $40,000 worth of seats and catching a percentage of that overhead. So, yeah, I mean, it became a financial thing for me.
Mm-hmm. What are some of the biggest changes you've noticed now since from when you started? Which, I mean, you did start late, and you seem to have a knack for just like picking things up fast. And what are some of the biggest differences you found now in the industry in women's boxing from when you started till today?
Well,
and that was a great, by the way, historic moment because Katie Taylor and Amanda Serrano was announced. Is the super fight is going to happen? Historical, first time women are headlining a pay-per-view, Madison Square Garden. It's gonna be sold out, I'm pretty sure. So, yeah, go ahead.
I would say the biggest difference is that when I was in the amateurs, women weren't competing in the Olympics, and that the girls who were pros, like that are around my age, but had turned pro a few years before me, women weren't allowed in the Olympics. We weren't invited in the Olympics. So what we're seeing now is different classes of Olympians were coming out and garnering the respect and the attention from big promotions like Matchroom and Top Rank, and girls are getting signed to Golden Boy because they're coming out of the international ranks, where as prior to 2012, girls weren't allowed to box in the Olympics. A second big change from 2012 to now is the advancement of social media and how easy it is to connect with fans and to connect with people internationally. So, and the third, I would say, is DAZN or any kind of streaming service that allows people to watch you fight. I remember when girls in my gym and Gleason's would go overseas to fight, and we'd all kind of just get on the phone with the coaches afterwards and say, what happened? How did it go? Because we would have no opportunity to really watch these epic world title fights that were happening because women's boxing was so under the radar.
Yeah. And I think for me personally, the surge of MMA has the mixed martial arts has really helped. Because you're actually officially the first guest in our new. We have this hashtag Women's Boxing 2022 campaign going on because I think, and I've always said this, it's gonna be. This is the year, and even last year I was saying next year is going to be the year for women's boxing, and now like with these new announcements, I'm like, oh, 100%. Like it seems like that's the case, and because MMA, like I really got into MMA many years ago, but boxing has always been like my first love. And I've always looked at like how they promote, how did they make it so that women get as much attention as the men? They get paid mostly equally to the men there, and I want that for boxing, like and I understand that it's the way they're structured is different. Like MMA, you have the promotions and they have their own belts and they promote the organization more than the fighter, and boxing is very much individual based on the fighter, but like, what role do you think MMA has played, and do you think that pressure of the growth of MMA is pushing those promotions in boxing to sort of give women more attention?
I don't think so, because I transitioned to MMA. I think I had my first fight in 2017, and that was well into. I think Ronda Rousey had already lost her championship by then. Please don't quote me, because there's a good chance I'm off by a year or two. What's that?
2013, you said?
So I was 2017. So women's MMA had already been well into full force before, I had gone into women's MMA. And I noticed a tremendous surge in my following and the way that MMA promoted me as opposed to boxing. So boxing didn't look at Ronda Rousey and catch on. It was many, many, many years later. And, I really can't help but attribute it to the Olympics. But, on another side, boxing really doesn't do a great job promoting its men either, right? Like a lot of really popular male fighters aren't household names to a casual boxing fan who might not understand somebody like the magnitude of a Terrence Crawford, right? Like, just like if he was walking down the street, because he's not super promoted. He's paid, but not like very well marketed, whereas like a baseball player, a basketball player, a football player is, right?
Yeah. Like he could just walk down the street, half the people wouldn't know who he is, and that's actually what Tyson Fury was saying, promoting the first fight with Wilder was, walk down the street, and the Wilder can walk down the street and nobody knows who he is, but like he is the biggest knockout artist in the history of boxing. So, but yeah, so the Olympics, I think, isn't it Terry Harper came from the Olympics as well, didn't she?
I don't think so, but I don't know.
Not sure.
I don't think so.
You said the promotions aren't doing a good job at promoting the fighters, but then they're still dumping all these millions into them instead of making structural changes, maybe in the way they promote several fighters instead of this one big name.
Well, there's very little reason for any kind of boxing promoter to make any changes, because they're all making a ton of money right now. So why would they want to change? You have someone like Jake Paul, who is fighting as the main event on a show, and look what he did his last fight. He took part of his own purse and distributed it among the undercard because he felt like they deserved more money than he did as just being the main event, right? Like things like that make positive changes, saying the rich get richer and the poor stay the same. He's like, no, I'm getting richer. I'm going to help everybody. And I mean, it's a mindset, but there's really only way it could come is from the top.
Yeah, it's always okay. So it's a matter of distribution. It's what you get in big corporations as well. I was with my friend recently.
Sure,
and, she's a banker. And she was saying like she gets paid peanuts compared to her boss. Her boss gets paid peanuts compared to her boss. And I guess it's a similar way. You think like there just needs to be a restructuring of the distribution of wealth, but then there'll be always those people complaining about losing on money. Because. Yeah, so Jake Paul, you touched upon it. Let's go there. I mean, we all didn't know what to think when it first happened. Like there was a lot of hate, there was a lot of pushback, but like the more it developed, the more it seemed like, oh, this whole thing was a marketing stunt for his for his promotion. Like in the end, the boxing promotion is something that he was planning to set up, and basically is now the front runner of, leader in terms of promoting women's boxing. Like, do you think there should be just more of those, or maybe former boxers or current world champions doing something similar?
Well, there are a lot of there are a lot of places right now and promoters who are doing a good job with women. A lot of women who are signed to boxing promoters, but not a lot of women who are making a lot of money, right?
Mhm.
Like Jake put Amanda as his co-main event, and he made all of his fans put them in direct contact with Amanda. And so you had not only like him giving her a chance, but he showcased her and he made people see her and made people want to see more of her. People loved her. And that's the idea of what promoting really is not just putting girls on the shows, because he could have put Amanda in the first or second slot and then said to Amanda, well, you know, nobody really wants to see you. And that's how the history of women's boxing has gone. Women will get early slots on shows. Women will fight for world titles on a Wednesday or a Thursday night. Women will fight for world titles on undercards of big fight cards. And then the promoters will say that they aren't marketable. And Jake Paul said, no, look at this girl. I want everybody who sees me, I'm putting her as the co-main event so everyone can see how good she is. And then the fans loved her. Like they ate it up, not because she was a female or female boxing, because she was a really good fighter. Yes. And that's all that women are asking for. Give us the same that you give the boys. That's how men are promoted. Men aren't given Nike sponsorships. They're not put on mainstream TV. Men who are boxers get prominent spots on big fight cards so that all boxing fans see them. Women are still kind of shadowed a little bit. So they'll say, oh, well, this woman did a main event or this woman did a main event. It's not always about the main event. It's about how many eyes are you directing to this fight.
And I mean, it doesn't often correlate to how many fans they have either. Like, you know, I'm pretty sure Amanda has a lot more of a following than a lot of these male headliners. But the pay is significantly less, like astronomically less, and that's what's unfair. And I think it's just that I feel like in boxing, the fan base is getting older, and they're just not used to seeing women fight as much as the younger generation. Or like, this is where I think I say MMA helped, is because since like MMA really boomed and grew around the time where women were introduced as well. It's just by chance like that happened. And just men that got used to seeing those extreme fight, like last year or the 2 years ago, whatever it was a women's fight that won Fight of the Year because it was so great. And that's just, men are just used to seeing that. And it needs to be normalized, I think, in boxing in stages to the point that people or the older boxing audience wouldn't be surprised, so to say, to see a women's fight headline, and then they'll, you know, start buying tickets and, you know, the pay-per-views for those fights. I think, you know, it's like, for me, like a re-educating or like rewiring the brain of the audience, you know, to me. Do you agree with that?
No, because when these old people walk into a hospital with a broken leg, they're not sending a female doctor out of their hospital room. And if they call an Uber because they need a driver, they're not sending the female driver back. It's 2022. We're not breaking anyone in easy. We're not rewiring old brains. Women belong in all places. So when you have a great female who is internationally known, who's won Olympic gold medals, who is, you know, miles ahead in skill. And I'm not talking about myself. Like, that's really important for me to say. I'm not talking about Heather Hardy, because I recognize that I'm not in that Olympic, you know, elite level of fighter. But there are a lot of women who deserve to be in those co-main event and main event spots on really tremendous fight cards. Like I've said for a long time, Katie Taylor shouldn't have won her undisputed titles on someone's undercard. Right? She should have been on the main portion of that show at Madison Square Garden. And I get a lot of shit for it. Maybe she made a lot of money. Maybe she was really happy. Maybe she's really grateful. Maybe she's the highest paid female in all of boxing. All of that aside, what I'm saying is not wrong. Because if she was a male world champion, a male Olympic gold medalist on their way up, they never would have done that at 6 p.m. On someone's undercard. So my thing is not how badly women are treated. It's just that it's not the same as men yet.
Yeah.
And there's no soft breaking it in. It's you just do it.
Yeah. And that's what, yeah. So that's the leap that now, you know, a Matchroom combined with MVP, Most Valuable Promotions, is doing. Essentially, they're like, okay, because man, like from the moment I can remember, they've been talking about this. How long have they been talking about this super fight? How many
Because it
years?
is a super fight.
Yeah, like have they been talking
It's
about
a
it for like 4 or
genuine
5
super
years?
fight. And Amanda did the right thing. Amanda held out and made sure she was getting paid what she deserved.
Yeah, no, fantastic. And yeah, she was thanking her trainer, Jordan Maldonado. Like she said, he was like one of the like he sort of like made sure she would wait and wait it out.
Yeah.
And now this blessing came. But basically, what they're doing is they're taking this big leap. You know, they're just going for it. They're just doing it. You know, and I'm sure it will sell. And I really hope it outsells. It will outsell Bob Arum's show the same night. I think Stucker Stevenson is, but yeah. I was gonna ask you later. Let's ask you now. If you let's say, you know, when the time comes and someone else must take over a promotion like Top Rank, because Bob Arum is one of those people that I consider like he's one of those people that's holding it back. He's holding the whole industry back at the moment. It's just, you know, old ways. What do you think they have to do to improve? Like, how would you, if you would take over Top Rank? Let's put you in that situation. How would you change the structure?
Well, I wouldn't even go as far as to say that. I don't know what it takes to run a promotional company, but I think that we can all sit back and look at what Michaela Meyer said. She said, you know, that the team there under Bob Arum, that while his words might have been harmful and hurtful and a little confusing, she said that the team, the general team, takes really good care of her. She travels around. She's doing announcing. She's secured 2 world titles. She fought as the main event on ESPN. She's vocally said that she's being paid well. So, I mean, you know, actions speak louder than words. If you have females who are under the promotion who say like, don't listen to what he says, like I'm being taken care of, then you got to trust that they have a good structural inside system. I mean, it doesn't say that what Bob Arum said was right. It's disgusting, but it's not surprising. And that's how these men talk behind closed doors. Bob just isn't really like young enough to realize what he says in a meeting is going to wind up on, you know, everybody's front tagline news.
Yeah. That's true as well. And you said, so because you okay, several times, so I mean you grew up when the fighter pay was less. It's been getting better, you know, for especially for women, and you said you would consider bare knuckle. Or at least you were considering it at some point before this fight happened with Terry. Like, is that something you see in your future?
I don't know, man. Like I don't turn anything, like any ideas down, but bare knuckle is the kind of fight that could end your boxing career, right? Like one little slip, a broken hand. I'm 40 years old. It might end all chance I have. Like boxing is my love, is my passion. Bare knuckle, while it's boxing, it's still fighting. It's still there. But you can't offer me a fight that's a ballpark price to, you know, a boxing fight. Like I'm serious, like about, you got to come close to 6 figures for me to consider this. It's an actual barbaric thing. Have you ever seen how it starts? Like they fucking ring the bell and you have 2 girls have their foot on a line and someone in the middle. Like, it's like a bullfight, which for the right price, I would do any kind of fighting. I hopped into MMA cage with absolutely no experience, because they were offering me the right money and the right kind of promotion that I needed. I'm not getting in there for $15,000, $20,000. It's absurd.
Is that what they were offering?
Yeah.
Because they offered Chad Mendes, former UFC fighter, now $600,000. And I know they're not giving that to everyone, but
yeah, I guess I'm not as worthy as him, which is fine. You know, like I don't mind it because I'm not crying for a fight. If they offered me the right amount of money, I would do it. But it just kind of felt like $20,000. And they were like, we can come up a little bit for me to get in a street fight.
$5,000, you know, like,
right. You want me to get in a street fight with a 23-year-old?
That's ridiculous.
No.
To be fair, I think you would destroy them. But yeah, I mean,
because
it's still a risk because look, and because I'm asking because like our last 3 interviews have actually been bare knuckle fighters, and 2 of them are women's title fighters, Britain Hart and Christine Faria. Christine was telling me, and it makes sense. You have to, if you punch hard or if you punch as hard as you normally would, you're gonna break your hands. Like there's that conservation of energy you also need.
Yeah, at a boxing glove, you're aiming for the jaw. You hit someone in the jaw with one of these, come on, I'm going to break my knuckles. And then what happens to my neck bites? These girls come out of the cage and their hands are swollen like this. Like, don't get me wrong.
It's crazy.
It's a fight. It's entertaining. It's toe to toe, but not for $20,000. Get the fuck out of here. Get the fuck out of here.
Yeah. And it seems like you won't need to. I mean, like, you know,
no.
You're still in big fights in boxing.
No.
So how is the preparation going? Because, okay, you heard, you know, you signed the Terry Harper fight. I've heard you say you felt disrespected as well, that they were offering her to you. Like what?
No, like, you know, there was some press about that. Oh, don't take it personal. Like, I'm not taking it personal, but it's a real thing. Like, if you want your fighter to come off a knockout and fight somebody, you don't want a hard fight for them. That's your fighter. You don't want your fighter to have a hard fight on their first fight back, especially when we're talking about 4 or 5 months. How am I not going to take it personal? It's not like I'm sitting home thinking they came after me. No, but they obviously don't think I'm that good a fighter. Okay. It's not a matter of take it personal. I don't take shit personal, but I'm smart. And I know what the business of boxing is. They want to give her somebody like as a tune-up, not too hard, something to ease her back in. And you pick me? Okay. Okay. The 40-year-old old lady, you got it.
I thought man, I'm fired up by this, man. But I was also sorry, like I was surprised they made it because exactly that. Because boxing tends to be exactly you get the tune-up fight first. But I was like, they're giving her Heather Hardy, like that's. But
I mean, I don't know. Like,
they might be underestimating you and thinking like, but they want her to beat a big name, an accomplished name, a former champion as well. But then again, this can go belly up fast. Like, if she loses 2 in a row, you know, in boxing, the O is holy. So, that's what it is.
Yeah, they want to see what she's made of. And, like, I get that and everything. But, you know, I would get being a tune-up before a world title fight, right? Like that. I get
if it's the
that.
rematch, with Alicia, maybe,
You know, like, let's prove that she could do it. But, you know, your first fight back. And it's not like she took 6 months off to reheal, to retrain, to, you know, she got knocked out. A couple months later, came back. I want to fight Heather Hardy. Okay. And her team thought that was a good idea.
Was she the one she called for it?
No, I don't know who did. Okay, I'm sure it was her team. There was a couple of names in the pot, you know, like, and I didn't even know if they was going to pick me because there was like 4 other girls who they was talking about. Mm-hmm. So I didn't know. It's like, I just took it like, yeah, I'm going to take it. I'll start training. I'll start running, And then they said they wanted to fight me. It's not like I'm taking it personal or nothing, but I know the business of boxing and that's what it is. She coming back. They want to give her an easy fight that's going to make her look good.
Right.
And they thought Heather Hardy's a good match. Okay.
All right. We'll see. So how's the prep? Yeah. What do you expect? Like, you're doing. How do you prepare for such a fight now? Like, it's a young former champion. Do you do a lot of tape study? Do you do like, or is it more like just, you know, getting back in the rhythm and?
It's really a matter of ironing out the shit that I do wrong, getting back in shape. So my training days are going about 4 hours of training a day. I got, you know, about an hour and a half of cardio just to get my wind up. I'm 40 years old. I got to get back in shape. And I got to do it in a much different way than I did at 25. At 25, I go for a mile jog every night. And I'm, you know, the Energizer Bunny. Now it takes me 30 minutes just to warm up before everything's cricking and cracking and going all over the place. But it's a lot of sparring. It's working on timing. It's working on technique. You know, like I said, almost 4 hours of training. I'm doing cardio and strength training. I'm doing technique training where it's like, I'm just punching. No good. Till we straighten things out and fix the things I do bad. And then we're doing, you know, just drilling. So it's a lot of hours in the gym, but I signed up for this. So I know what to do.
Do you feel it makes you more focused? Like to do this at
this
age?
It does, but not because of her, not because of the fight, not because of anything, but I signed up for this fight because I didn't like how my last fight went. I didn't like how my last fight went, and not because of the outcome, because everything happens for a reason. But I didn't like the Heather Hardy that I brought into that fight. I didn't like the mentality that I was in, and I just thought, you know what, you got to fix this so that you can move on. I couldn't end my career like that. I have to do it my way. I have to really reset, think about why I was in the sport to begin with, why I came to where I came, how I got out of what I got out of, and take that energy into a fight.
This is like everything from like how when you started, the legacy you've built up, and it's like just tweaking, fixing that legacy, and
Yeah,
because I always wonder, like, just yeah. So I wonder, like, where the hunger comes from, like in the latter stages of your career, like it's always hard to, there's always the honeymoon phase in the beginning, and then there's your peak, and you're always hungry, and so you're trying to prove to yourself that you're the same fighter still.
Yeah, go out. I want to go out the way I came in, like on fire. I want to go out the way I came in, like with passion, with a drive, with a sense of purpose, not just like going through the motions. One of the girls I used to teach boxing to many years ago went on to become a Peloton instructor. And she's a really well-known instructor. And one of her taglines is, you don't have to do this, you get to do this. And I heard it that one time and I thought, yeah, it changed everything about the way I think. I don't have to box, I get to. I'm being gifted. I have another chance. Like, I have to make the most of it. And that's how I started my career. Every time I got a chance, I made sure I made an impression that they wanted me back. I didn't fight my last fight like that. I didn't do that. And I'm mad at myself for it. But I'm grateful that I have an opportunity to make amends.
Exactly. Yes. And like mentally, what is the biggest difference between you now and then?
I want to do this.
So you feel
really
like back in for the
this.
last fight, you didn't want to do that anymore?
I don't know. Like, my heart wasn't in boxing so much anymore. I was mad at boxing. I was mad that I was fighting for 20 grand. I was mad that I had to go back and do it. I was fat and I needed to get back in shape. I was mad that the pandemic kept me out of the gym for so many years. I was mad that I lost in 2019 and didn't have the opportunity to come back right away because the gyms closed. And I was mad that I was homeschooling my kid and nobody was helping. Like, I just was in such a bad, ugly place.
So it really was like the pandemic is the thing that took a big toll in the end, and all the consequences of the pandemic in a way.
I mean, it didn't help. I wasn't in the best space mentally ever, but it didn't help. And then going into that fight, treating like, okay, well, I'm back on the scene, but I wasn't grateful. My heart wasn't in it and I didn't deserve it. And I'm grateful. Like I've said a few times, not everybody gets a second chance. Not everybody deserves a second chance. So to have this opportunity, right? Not boxing in some little show on a big stage. I get to go to Europe. I get to do media week and press week and get pretty outfits and look nice and go on the big stage and fight again. I get the second chance, and that's tremendous to me, especially when women's boxing is popping right now. I get to be a part of it.
Yes. Yeah. And you have 100% earned the right to get that second chance.
Thank you.
Because your name is really always for me been synonymous with just women's boxing and the top of women's boxing. There's so much talent coming up and stuff, but I'll still put you in there. And it's I mean,
thank
you. You're getting this fight. You're getting this, whatever their reason is. It says something though that you're still fighting the top girls, right?
Yeah.
And I like what you said, because like the more fighters we talk to, especially some that are, I mean, they're still young considered. Like as soon as they get past 30 and they start mentally thinking like, am I getting old? For the sport, not in life, they start saying what changed is I started savoring every moment. And
yes,
it's like
enjoying
it's what I felt with you saying, like you want to enjoy the traveling, getting the outfit and all that. And Ashley Evans Smith, you've done her podcast, like I work with her.
Yes.
Yeah, she has a question for you later. She said that what she started doing, and she used to run to the cage, and now her last fight, she was walking slowly because she wants to take it all in as well and enjoy it. Yeah. So that's a great thing. That's a great thing. So you've always been like smart business wise as well, and you have had different careers as well outside of boxing. Um, are you considering managing?
No,
Because I think you'd be.
no,
That's a shame for me to hear, but it's your choice.
no.
Yeah, it's just such a
I
dirty
think
industry, huh?
I don't love the industry. I will always be here to mentor young women on the come up, young fighters in general on the come up. I'd like to open my own boxing gym, and because I love the sport of boxing.
Mm.
I love what it does for people, not just for fighters, but for everyone. I have housewives, I have single moms, I have, dads who work in an office full time and never really get to feel their own strength and power. I mean, what boxing gives to everyone on their own level, I love to pass that on. That is more the role in boxing I would like to
Mm.
take than to try to manage. Mentor, sure, but do it all the time? No.
See, that's why. Okay, that makes sense because like I said, manager, but then for you to be a manager, I would say they gain the most from the mentorship part of it
Yeah.
because I mean, you don't often get managers that have been at the top of the sport or have
But
even done the
also the
sport at all.
manager has to be business
Yeah,
minded.
but you're business
And
minded.
that is where that the heart comes out of boxing, when you put too
Mm,
much mind on the business. And I don't think that from a promotional standpoint or from a managerial standpoint that I would be giving the most back to boxing.
right.
Right.
Okay. So if a young female fighter comes to you, for career advice and on how to market herself, and what's the first thing you would say or first
Be
advice you would give?
authentic. Be authentic to yourself. You are a like some people will say, oh, you're great marketing, or you're very marketable. Everyone is marketable. You just have to find your audience. So be
Yeah.
true to yourself, find your audience and run with that. Right.
Mhm.
Don't try to be someone you're not. I said for a long time, there was all these talks about, oh, Heather, are you going to do an OnlyFans? No, that is not who I am. I would just make a fucking fool out of myself because that's not authentically the human being that I am in general. So to try to
Yeah.
put a persona out there that doesn't belong to you is going to hurt in the long run, because one thing about the public, they see through bullshit. So my first advice to all girls who are starting, find your market and market yourself based on who you are.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. So yeah, because the OnlyFans question, I mean, that probably you probably get that a lot, but I mean, it's because you can tell like it's sad when it's like because there's a lot of women they are like that's them, but there's a lot of them that feel forced to do it just because that's the only way they feel like they can make the money to
But
pursue
there
their
are
career.
genuinely girls who are great at it. Like Paige is making
Yeah,
so much money right now,
I
and
think
she's
Paige
happy
loves
in
it.
her
Yeah.
marriage. She's happy in her life. She's doing all the right things. I mean, high five, bitch. Go for it. I love you for it. I wish I could do it. I wish I could do it. But it's not for everybody. Eric
Yeah.
Kelly used to say, I don't know if you know who Eric Kelly is. He's like an old school fighter from years ago, a New Yorker. But he used to say, look, everything ain't for everybody. You don't see me grabbing no briefcase and going down to Wall Street. I'm a fighter. I fight. Not everything is for everybody. That's why you got to find who you are and then market yourself to your audience. That's it.
Yeah, and I don't think it's a bad thing. I think like as I said, like if someone who's doing it just for the money, it's not different than another fighter going to the office to and having that dead end job, killing his
Right.
soul to do the
Yeah.
same thing to fund his career. It's not
Yeah.
that different. It's just like do what's you. Indeed. So yeah, it's let's go. If you how much time do you got?
Yeah, I
'Cause
got a
think
little time.
we can because I got a lot of fan questions. I want to choose a couple of good ones so we can go into some of
Okay.
the fan questions. There's actually two. I'll start with those. He's wearing the shirt now, and there was two Wu-Tang questions in here. So
Okay.
my co-host on this MMA show, brilliant, talented reporter Alex Wendling. Alex Wendling MMA. Your favorite Wu-Tang song?
Triumph.
Triumph. Great. So is that you're gonna walk out to that?
No, I never
Oh.
really walk out to Wu-Tang.
And
I
the
listen to it
second
when I run, though.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Put it on in a bit. At Mr. Music Army, who are your Mount Rushmore of Wu-Tang members, solo career wise?
Oh, definitely you can't say Method Man, Method Man for sure.
Yeah.
I had the biggest crush on him when I was a kid. I would say Ghostface. I love Ghostface. I would say ODB,
Okay.
rest in peace, but
Yeah.
he was wicked. And I don't know, my ex-husband was a big Inspector Deck fan, which he's not super popular, so I don't know if I would put
Yeah.
him on there, but reminds me of my childhood big time.
Okay. So yours, this is like you almost got to mine. Like we have three of the same. I have Redman in there too because I think Redman's
Okay.
solo career. I think
Except for Inspector Deck, right? It just is like reminds me of my youth.
yeah, right. No, exactly. For me, like Redman was like part of my youth, and I think lyrically, he is one of the most underrated rappers ever. Actually, if you go to solo
Fair,
stuff as well.
fair.
So, but for the rest, we have the same. Right. The fighting now, and I think I have a hunch what the answer is. What's been your toughest fight as a pro?
Probably MMA when Christina Williams broke my nose. We weren't
Okay.
prepared for a kicker in that fight. And when we were in the locker room, one of my coaches said, "Oh shit, this girl got a black belt in Taekwondo." And
Oh my
I saw
God.
like the energy. Yeah, the energy came out of the room, and I'm like, "Guys, what?" And at the last minute, like my hands were wrapped. They were trying to get me to block kicks, and I dove face first into a roundhouse kick, and my nose has never been the same.
So you weren't prepared for. So she had a Taekwondo black belt,
Yeah.
and you were not. You didn't prepare for a kicker.
We were not prepared for a kicker. We
Oh
were
my
doing
God.
takedown
Oh my
defense and
God.
sharpening the hand speed and stuff and
Which makes sense.
movement. Yeah, we weren't ready for that one.
Like in general, boxers going into MMA, the first thing you're gonna think is, I'm just gonna work on takedown defense the whole time because I'm always gonna
and
outstrike these people. You know?
that
Yeah.
was that was basically what it was like for those years. It was takedown defense and getting out of holds, escape
Yeah.
mount, escape this, escape that. Nah, it's a lot to put in the computer and try to remember.
Yeah. I thought you did great though. Like for considering.
Thank you so
the
much.
lack of
Considering
experience.
I went 50-50. Not so bad.
Yeah, I mean that's better than a lot of professional MMA fighters.
Yeah, right?
Yeah. And MMA doesn't matter. The loss doesn't matter much. And
No, I always did my best.
Yeah. And here, Ashley Evan Smith, Ashley at Ashley MMA. What are some of your favorite affirmations or quotes? Keep killing it, babe.
Oh, I love Ashley. She's so amazing. I would say I have two. One of my long standing is never stop fighting, right? Never stop fighting. That's a mantra that goes with me in life, in the ring, in the cage, and everything. Like you quit, your mind quits before your body quits. And if you tell yourself, I won't stop till I get there, I won't stop till the bell rings, I won't stop till I get that last mile in. Never stop fighting. Make your mind work harder than your body. And my most recent one is, you don't have to do this, you get to do it.
Yeah,
That
nice.
Jess Sims, one of my old clients and Peloton buddies, Jess Sims taught me that you don't have to do this, you get to do this. So it's those moments of training when I don't want to do the last mile, or I don't want to go back to cardio, or I'm so tired and I know I have 2 more rounds of sparring. I get this chance. Open your heart, get through it, Super cheesy, but it's motivational, man.
No, it definitely makes sense. I mean, you could say I could be rotting in in an office right now, like instead, and it's great. I'm looking at the ones we've already gone through basically throughout the interview, and there's this one. The second part of the question might be better. At ZYMO15. If you could change one thing about women's boxing and one thing about boxing in general, what would those two changes be?
I think that I would change the women's boxing. It's not like track and field. We don't compete in 2 separate events. We compete in the same arenas and under the same cars and the same promotions. If I could change one thing about women's boxing, it would be that we are boxers who happen to be women. Right? We are boxers who happen to be women, and to just streamline that men and women are treated exactly the same from come up to world title. That would be my number one difference, that women aren't treated like a sideshow or as, a marketing gimmick, but rather as on the same platform as the men.
So do you think our own campaign of hashtag Women's Boxing 2022 should be changed?
No, I don't,
No,
because
that's
it is the tagline that it's created. It's what it is, but it's just.
So, if I would call you women's boxing royalty, you'd prefer boxing royalty.
No, I mean, I am
Think so?
women's boxing royalty, but it's the idea that women's boxing and boxing is the
Yeah.
same thing, right? It's the
Right.
same thing. Like there
I know what
was,
you're saying. I'm just
yeah,
just for the
there was a
audience. Yeah.
big poster. There was a big poster like a week ago that I got tagged in a couple of times because it was like Brooklyn's baddest boxers, and it was all men. And someone kept saying like, "Where's Amanda Serrano? Where's Heather Hardy?" Right? Like
Yeah. Okay.
there wasn't like one or two of them. There was like 30 people on the list, and it was all boys. So it's in instances like that that you think that we're all the same. That some lists don't need to call attention to women's boxing, to say women's boxing royalty. That doesn't offend me in the least bit. But when you
Mhm.
see lists like that, greatest boxers to come out of Gleason's gym, we don't have a girls list and a boys list. Like Bruce always
No, for
says,
sure.
there's not girls' money and boys' money. It's all the same. We got
Yeah.
one list.
Yeah. Yeah. If I'm gonna make a pound for pound list, I'll include all of them. I think
Yeah.
'cause Amanda Serrano is. You can tell us more than anyone because you fought her. Like, is I think technically just top of the world. Like, no matter what gender is, cross gender. Like, her like technically it's insane. And of course, she has power for the division. So, let me see. Who were your role models as a boxer? Oh wait, sorry, the name. At Betty_Day_Brazil. Who were your role models as a boxer, and who was the best pound for pound boxer in the women's sport today?
I definitely grew up in an era of women's boxing that was under like no visibility, no streaming services. I grew up with at Gleason's gym with Alicia Ashley, Belinda Laracuente, Melissa Hernandez. When these three women were in their prime, I don't think that anyone could beat them, right? But there was no New York boxing scene. There was no real American boxing scene. These are girls who would get on a plane and travel and bring their world titles back home to New York City. My number one idol will always be Alicia Ashley. She was my first coach. She's kind of like my sister-in-law. And to me, nobody I've seen ever do what she does. She is an absolute icon.
What do you think is the biggest thing you picked up from her?
Well, one of the first things I said when I trained with her, and she repeats this a lot, is I said to her, she said, "You're a fighter, you're a boxer?" And I said, "Yeah, I want to fight." And she said, "No, honey, you want to box." And she taught me the art of boxing.
Yeah. Which, if you ever decide to do a one-off bare knuckle fight, you need to erase that from your memory.
Yeah.
Because even the promotion doesn't like boxing. Like,
Yeah, I know.
Did you watch the Malignaggi fight then? Like in bare knuckle?
I didn't, but I have seen a few of the women's fights.
Yeah. Okay. Do you like any? You're a fan of any of them?
Of the bare knuckle boxing?
Do you have like a women's fighter you like to watch in bare knuckle? Yeah.
I love them all. They're all so tenacious. Like, I think Britain Hart is just a little firecracker, and she's a tremendous. Yeah, she's a tremendous supporter of female fighters in general. I think Paige is a great role model. She does incredible things and really knows how to market herself and make money and make fans. Rachel, I was a big fan of hers as an MMA fighter, and these girls are doing their thing. They're going out there and they're finding out ways to make money and stay relevant. So hats off to them.
I think I've said this in 3 episodes already. Like, Rachel's last performance was incredible.
Yeah, she's fantastic. She did some beautiful boxing.
Yeah, exactly. She actually, she boxed. Yeah, she didn't fight. She boxed. And I think this is the last one. Yeah. At Lily.theprincess, could you touch on your mental game as a high-level athlete? Was there something that shifted in your mindset or tools you used as you leveled up? This is a girl we know. She fights for Team USA at Waco kickboxing.
Wow. Kickboxing is so hard. That's a good question. I think mentally, like I said once before, that your mind is stronger than your body. Your body is going to quit a lot faster than your mind is. And you have to constantly be telling yourself, no matter how tired, no matter how out of shape, you can keep going, no matter how hungry, how thirsty, how much you want to quit. If your mind quits, you quit, right? My coach always says, like, when people throw themselves off the bridge, their feet don't do it. Their brain does it. Your feet didn't tell you to jump. Your mind told you to jump. So your mind is in control of this body and has so much more than you think. So
that is absolutely true. That's crazy. Yeah, that's a great quote. That's a great like statement. Yeah, strong. All right. Well, yeah, because I mean, like, yeah, they say all sports is like 80% mental, 75% mental, something like that.
I believe that.
And like, that. And in fighting, it's the worst place to be if you're not mentally there. You know,
Yeah.
like, at least you got teammates covering for you, and other spots you don't get punched in the face.
Yeah.
So, anyway, so Heather, thank you so much for coming on. I love that you made time for us. I really appreciate this, and you know, I'm not supposed to pick sides, but I'm rooting for you.
Oh, thank you
in
so
March.
much.
So,
You guys make the coolest graphics too. The
Thank you.
coolest graphics. So whoever does them, high five, man. Coolest graphics.
That's me right now.
The world
I'm coming.
champ.
Thank you. Okay, I'll keep making them if you want. I mean,
Awesome.
and
I love them.
we also sell the service, guys. So if anyone wants to hire us,
There
we're
you go.
a video production company. But thanks for the shout out on the show. But yeah, so thanks and good luck and good luck in training in a bit. Like you know, hopefully your conditioning is getting there and.
Yeah, I'm
We'll see what
I'm
you
on
got.
my way. I got to run back to the gym for session 2 before I go back to work. So it was great talking to you. Thanks for having me.